Little Napoli, little sad. We're losing right now. 2-0. How's it going?
Good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you. Welcome to my home at El Sobrante. I'm going to pass this over to my roommate. Royce, you want to take over? Yeah. All right. I think flip it around.
Awesome. Hey, I've got an apron that looks kind of like yours.
That's why I wore it. I saw the red and white one and the black and white one, so I was like, I'm going to wear it. I'm not a fan of the black and white because of a soccer team, but I'll wear it for you, Carmen.
Thank you, David. So hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining David and me for this week's Cooking with Carmen. You know, this is a series that I started not that long ago, especially when San Francisco went into a shelter-in-place order. Part of the thinking was that we would be able to highlight our local businesses, our local restaurants, but also find a way that we can support them. Not only are our guest chefs coming online to show us a tip or two, but we also get to know a little bit more about them and what makes their establishments and their work so special. So I'm so pleased today to be able to join David. David is broadcasting from his home, but I want to tell you a little bit about his restaurant and him before we start. So I'm going to go and read his bio just to make sure that I don't mess anything up here. So for David, he's actually the chef and owner of Bella Trattoria. And this is a restaurant that has been a neighborhood fixture, I want to say, for 24 plus years in the Richmond district in San Francisco. And so this is a restaurant located right on Geary between 2nd and 3rd Avenue. And it's a place that so many of our generations of San Franciscans have gone to, that he and I have been part of the restaurant business since a very young age. I know David was doing work in restaurants since he was 15. And not only that, but he joined Bella Trattoria when it almost pretty much from the very beginning. He was able to buy over Bella when the owner was selling it back in 2002. And I think you were only, you were 27 at the age?
27, yeah.
So it's just crazy to me.
I was doing. I still don't.
It's crazy to me how much, I mean, it's such a big risk sometimes to kind of do something like that. So, you know, hats off to you on that. So David, not only that, he went to San Francisco State, but he actually went to Italy and did a lot of work learning to cook out there. But not only that, but learned the art of winemaking in Italy. And so he brings to us a wealth of information. I think you're going to love hearing from him because you're going to see he's not only imaginative, inventive, but he's just got this infectious, positive personality. So we're really glad to see you. David, welcome.
Thanks. I got to sanitize my hands.
Thank you.
For the California Health Department. Don't want to busting down my house here in El Sobrante.
Well, thank you very much. I know, you know, I wanted to maybe ask you to start by telling us a little bit about Bella Trattoria. I know you've really created something special there. It's really like your second home. And so I want to hear a little bit more about the business, what makes you tick, what inspires you there.
Yeah, basically Bella Trattoria started in about 1995, 1996 by these two guys from Rome. And I worked alongside with them, and we opened up another restaurant up in Russian Hill. And then a little bit after 9/11, we took over, and they graciously helped me transfer the business to my name. It's something that you don't find in everyday business world. So very grateful for them for helping me out. And basically, the Trattoria is it's a neighborhood restaurant. You know, in Italy, they have different categories of restaurants. You have an osteria, you have a trattoria, you have a bar, and then you also have a ristorante. And in the trattoria is a place where you go. It's like a neighborhood restaurant, familiar dishes that you possibly can cook at home. Mm-hmm. And, you know, you go to the trattoria when you don't want to cook. You know, like I said, trattoria is basically a neighborhood restaurant. And that's what we are. You know, we've been in the inner Richmond for over, you said, about 24 years, maybe a little less. Yeah. But I'll take the extra years.
You were telling me before, by the way, like you know, being there for that amount of time, you see so many people grow up in the neighborhood, and you were telling me about someone who you ended up hiring, who you knew as a kid.
We hired it was a good neighborhood friend, and she had been coming since she was like 4 or 5, you know, And you know, she would always paint like these little drawings back in the day when we'd have paper tables, what do you call it, placemats or whatever. And so she would do her little drawings, and she would always leave me like a little painting, right? So I put it up in my office, and I would always bring it out when she would come, you know, to visit, you know, not to work but to visit. And then she grew up, and then she was looking for a job, and you know, she was working with me, and then she found the painting in the office. So it was kind of. But yeah, I mean, being there so long, you really see a lot of the neighborhood grow, and as we were talking about change, you know, in Richmond, and the Richmond in general has been able to overcome, you know, like heavy gentrification. You know, the neighborhood has stayed pretty much the same. You know, I mean, of course, there's some changes, but I mean, it's just there's a lot of personality in the inner Richmond, and the Richmond in general, and it's just it's great to have something that's like original still exists in San Francisco.
So true. Can you tell us a little bit about how you're experiencing COVID-19, by the way? Because I know, I mean, so many of our businesses are really having a hard time, and I know, especially restaurants with not being able to serve indoors right now, it's really tough. And so I wonder how things are going, and you know, what you've been kind of learning from this whole process.
Yeah. Well, first, you know, it was a time to relax a little bit and kind of, you know, not be so stressed out and just kind of go through the experience, you know. So we took a lot of time off and, you know, just kind of rethought about a lot of things. But the first thing we had to do was, you know, it was like kind of like an emergency situation. We went from, I believe it was like March 16th, March 17th, where we had to like go from doing regular service to doing takeout. So we had to kind of like scramble. So everything we had in the back burner just had whatever that we were procrastinating with had to come out. So we started to change. We had to learn how to do the takeout business, which takeout business, as easy as it sounds, it's not. There's a whole different structure and setup that you have to do, you know, with to-go boxes and all this kind of stuff, as well as what food carry is good. So we had to rethink the menu. We had to rethink the format. We had to work with the health department.
Yeah.
And what we ended up doing was we turned the restaurant into almost like this mini market, the Italian 7-Eleven, artisanal market basically. And we had all these perishable items that we needed to sell. So we went from a restaurant to this market. And at the beginning, we started off with just doing, selling off our inventory, whatever we had to make money. You know, it was a straight hustle situation. You know, I remember it was like Easter, and we were selling Easter eggs and delivering Easter eggs all over the Bay. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And it was just like, whatever we needed to do to make money, we did it, you know? And so, you know, speaking of that, we started this, we were always doing these sardines that we were selling, but they were kind of like in the back. So people really didn't get to see the sardines and what they were selling. They were on the menu, but it was just like sardines. And so it was kind of interesting. We had to let people know, hey, you know, they're not fresh sardines, they're canned fish. And it wasn't really kind of something that was welcomed, you know, by the customer base. But then when we became this artisanal market, everybody got to see the product and the retail side. Yeah. And it took off, you know, where it went from selling our basic inventory to having to do reorders because people were buying a lot of these market items. So
you and I spoke a lot about your passion for, you know, sustainable food, and I think part of what you're talking about, you mentioned before, is this idea about conserva, and I don't think a lot of people know that term. I didn't until I spoke to you about it. So tell me more about that, because I think, you know, I think people would want to hear about this because it's really unique. I've not heard it really talked about too much in San Francisco. And not only that, I haven't really seen restaurants incorporate it into their menu and what they do.
Yeah. I mean, it's slow moving. There's a couple spots in New York where they're featuring conserva, but it's a culture, it's a European culture. But I mean, even you and me, we grew up eating tuna fish sandwiches. So we know what conserva is. And conserva is basically food that is preserved. And it's also, so you can have vegetables, you can have fish, all the things that you want to, you know, can and save for later is part of this whole conserva. So in Europe, in particular in Portugal, they have this culture of canned fish. And so when we think of canned fish and we think sardines and tuna, but it expands way much more than that. So you have like octopus and you have clams. I mean, any kind of fish pretty much you can can. But the interesting thing I learned when I started to dive into this culture was how sustainable conserva is, because I mean, the first things, I mean, in terms of sustainability, I mean, this is something that's it's abundant on the food chain. Whereas tuna and a lot of other fish that are overfished, we got abundant amount of these little fish. So that was like a key thing. Also, in terms of sustainability, is in order to keep them, you don't really require any energy. You put them on your shelf, you leave them, and they age. So you can age it 20, 30, 40 years and whatnot. Of course, I think the health food and department, whatever, the agriculture, they make you put an expiration date.
Yeah.
But they pretty much last for a while. I mean, when I was in Portugal, I went into a store and I bought aged sardines. So almost like buying an aged wine. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's really interesting because I think, people kind of have this like negative connotation to canned foods, right? But I mean, like you said, you and I, we grew up with this stuff. I remember there's like this black bean and diced fish kind of a thing that in the Chinese community, we'd kind of like steam up and we just eat that. And it was delicious. And I think it's just sort of this idea of, like you mentioned, not taking extra kind of energy footprint in terms of storing it. But then the other thing is like you said, rather than kind of continuing to eat those large fillet fish where we're overfishing, you're kind of using the more abundant kind of fish sources. And honestly, when you start to think creatively about how to use it, they're really flavorful in terms of punching up different recipes and so on.
Yeah. I mean, as you know, talking about growing up in LA, I was partially raised by Filipinos, so hey, I had some spam in my day. Even my roommate did a little spam and eggs for breakfast. I'm like, what the heck is that? And then once I eat it, I'm like, whoa, man, that's some good stuff.
So David, next time you're gonna have to try spam and corn canned.
Okay.
With rice.
Rice or pan dulce?
You probably can do either one. So,
but on the conserva side,
so
these were the conservas that I have out today. And I even went, I know we were talking about squid ink yesterday. Yeah. So I got a squid ink conserva. So these are stuffed squids and they're in the ink. So you can kind of see right here that little conserva. And, part of the show, we're talking about conserva, and we're also going to be talking, we're going to cook with conserva. When we first got this item, we were like, whoa, this stuff is crazy pungent, and it was really hard to eat, like straight from the can. It was just like, and going through this whole conserva experience, we learned that, you also cook with the conserva. So this is great. Like if you want to do like a squid ink risotto, or you want to do a squid ink like Valenciana paella, this is the stuff right there that you use. So you also have all different types of squid ink. You got fresh squid ink. Yeah. It's a little bit tougher to find, or you can find jarred, imported squid ink. Most of it's coming out of Spain. Yeah. But there's in Italy, when you go to the markets in Italy, you buy like the sacks of squid ink. It's pretty interesting. You just kind of squeeze it into the sauce.
So can we buy all of those products at your place?
Yeah. You can buy all these products at the restaurant. In the East, I live in the East Bay, so East Bay has there's the Berkeley Bowl has it. Yeah. Also the Spanish Market in Berkeley. There are neighbors as well on Clement, but we also carry all of these sardines. So yeah.
So what are we cooking today, David?
Before we go to cooking, I wanted to show you real quick. What I did for the sardines. So back when COVID is over, we'll have like these dinner parties again. Wow. But these are just some crackers with guacamole and just plain old sardines. And then over here, these are the mussels. And these are mussels on top of terali with hummus. So there's just some different ideas you can do with the canned fish. Or you can always open up a canned fish, a nice little sour baguette and some wine, and you're good to go. But kind of just working with the different purveyors from these conservas, they were teaching me like, you can do other stuff and whatnot. So it's great. We were kind of actually serving this dish at the restaurant. We would serve it at the restaurant, and then we would serve it with like the box, so they didn't know exactly what they were eating. Yeah,
that's awesome. And then really great ideas for kind of changing it up sometimes.
Yeah, And then this one is, you know, total party platter. These are all different types of conservas.
Whoa.
So with my favorite combo, potato chips. And so on here you have like, these are great. These are razor clams. We have smoked oysters. We have, these are just regular Portuguese sardines in olive oil.
Yeah.
Look how beautiful, look at the beautiful presentation. These are the clams.
Yeah.
And they're just lined up, so beautiful.
Yeah.
Mussels, same mussels that I used over there. And then check this one out. This is, these are baby eels.
Whoa.
Yeah, super expensive, but fun to eat.
So
And
how do
also
you
can fry them too. They do
How do
that
you-
in South Italy. You fry the baby eels and you eat them pretty good.
Wow, how do you eat that? Do you just kind of like put a little bit on a potato chip and then add some sauce to it? But what do you do?
Exactly. Yeah, you grab a little chip, you know, a little salsa, and then I also have some asparagus. So you can totally, you know, these are vegetable conservas. So these are peppers, and then these are white asparagus.
Wow.
And so yeah, those the conserva goes far beyond fish. You know, like we were talking about spam and all that stuff. And so these are just different ideas you can do with conserva, and a fun way to have a party, and also for people to introduce them to this kind of weird culture or something that's not popular, right? But today I'm gonna cook. We're gonna do Italian. It's a Southern Italian dish. It's called puttanesca. It's kind of our version of the puttanesca. And puttanesca is kind of this controversial plate. I mean, the controversy starts off, where's it from? A lot of people are like, oh, it's from Rome. And a lot of people from Naples, say it's from Naples. So it's like this little back and forth. I've heard all these different stories. But if there's ever a competition between Rome and Naples, I'm going to side on the Naples side. That's my team. That's my second home. But so yeah, so then the puttanesca, it's the controversy goes with the name. The name is kind of like puttanesca. It comes from the word puttana, which means prostitute.
Oh.
And it's like the prostitute's pasta. So the story, I was reading about the story on that. It was basically that the brothels back in mid 20th century, all these fishermen were coming in, and they were just going to these brothels, and I guess back then the brothels were serving food. So that's how it got its name. There's a bunch of different stories
Interesting
about it. So it's kind of funny, but
well, you can never unlearn some of these things, huh?
yeah, come with me to my kitchen, and we'll do this little cooking demo.
So Zero Khan says, nice shirt, David.
Hey, thank you. So so we're gonna do the puttanesca. I'm gonna do a version of it. So typical version of the puttanesca is anchovies, capers, and tomatoes tossed with pasta. A little bit of garlic. I'm gonna do a version that adds tuna conserva and olives. And actually, a lot of the ingredients to make the puttanesca is conserva. So like olives are a conserva. Here's the anchovies. I'm using fresh tomatoes. But you can also use like Italian tomatoes, which are great, like or a tomato sauce. So there's all these, and this is also another form of conserva, and very, very big also in South Italy. I remember going to staying at my friend's house, and his mom would just have in their basement like jars and jars of tomato conserva. So it's very, you can in the summer, for the fall and the winter, and that way you have these types of that tomato flavor all year long. So the ingredients on the puttanesca on mine, we're gonna use blended olive oil, which is good for cooking. Don't ever cook with extra virgin olive oil. I'll fire you if I find out.
Wow.
But so this is a blend. It's a blend of canola and extra virgin. So a really good product. So I have a little bit of olive oil. All right. Not too much. Just turn this on. By the way, look how sad this is. Look at my stove. I have an electric stove. How am I going to ever get a Michelin star cooking on this stove? Unbelievable. So you got to do what you got to do, right?
You got to do what you got to do.
And now here's something interesting. So we're going to olive oil and garlic. The dish I'm doing is respecting Italian culture. Italians cook with garlic, but they don't eat garlic. So this
Oh,
garlic, so the garlic is going to start the party off. It's going to
yeah.
be there, and then we're going to take it out as
Oh,
the
that's so
process goes
neat.
on. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then we got some anchovies. I got these. I have the jar over there, but basically these are like spicy anchovies. So it will add a nice kick to it. So I'm going to add that into the fire, the electric fire. And they're a little spicy, but you know, just a little dab of red pepper as well.
Mm-hmm.
And there we go. So then that's gonna cook. That's gonna cook for a little bit. You're gonna let that cook for about 4 or 5 minutes. Kind of let those flavors come through.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna add after we're gonna add the tomatoes, and then towards the end we're gonna add the tuna and the olives.
Wow.
And then here's the squid ink pasta that we're gonna use. I already pre-cooked it.
Yep.
And then
Did you make that?
There's all these types of pastas you can use. This is my friend's pastas in Naples, and he has his own cooking show. So I wanted to show him I still have his pasta. But you can use any type. You can use a lot of different pastas. Again, you can use a lot of pastas, but careful if you're cooking for Italians. Certain sauces go with certain pastas.
Oh, okay.
You can't go crazy. Yeah, you know, backing up a little bit. You know, Italians are fantastic people. They make amazing friends, amazing wife as well. And you know, they have.
Is your wife Italian?
My wife's from Naples. My wife is from Naples, and so Italians are great. Make great friends, you know, and they have this kind of culture of like, don't worry, let's have fun, living life like by the moment. It's great, and there's don't worry about the rules. It's they always kind of figure a way to have fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you get in the kitchen, what I've learned, it's like all of that just goes out the door. It's like there's rules to follow, and you can't just start. You can't make you can't cook one of their dishes and then just start adding a bunch of ingredients because you're from the Bay Area, we like to experiment, you know. So it's like in the kitchen it's a whole different story. They have like rules to follow and whatnot.
That is so funny.
I've been learning that through the whole process.
You should see my mom and dad cook. They're always like, when they're in the kitchen, I don't know who's cooking and who's kind of directing, but they're like always at it, like do this, do that, There's never any like measuring spoon or anything like that.
Yeah, well, I was preparing everything, and my wife came in. She was helping me out. She saw my first tomato. She goes, "No, those tomatoes are not going to work. Let's do another batch." We had to do a couple. I did a batch. Those are just simple tomatoes, right? So that's been in the pan a little bit. There's the garlic. It's all whole, just used to kind of bring out the aromas. I'm using cherry tomatoes.
Yep.
And then that's going to cook. And then basically we're going to let that kind of simmer really slow. I got my hot water for my pasta, salted, of course. So that's already been salted. That's the same salt water I used to cook the pasta. And so this is going to cook like 20, 30 minutes. I know you love me, Carmen, but you don't want to spend the whole afternoon with me.
It's so neat because like the way that my parents cook, we put like ginger and garlic a lot in like the oils to kind of bring out the flavor. We usually leave it in there, but then I never really thought about using, sardines or other things to add an additional like layer of flavor in it too. But it makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I was reading today, prepping before the show, and like this one cooking channel or explanation of anchovies was talking about anchovies as a umami, like that fifth element of flavor, And it's true because the anchovy adds a lot of salt. You can cook the anchovy with broccoli and all sorts of different stuff, and it really brings out so much flavor. But again, you can also, like with anything, you can overkill it by putting too much anchovies, and then it really salts it. And also anchovies are very pungent, so they pack a lot of flavor. Yeah. But you don't want to ever like overdo it. And so I love anchovies, and so and anchovies are again another conserva. So basically, that's going to cook for another 20 minutes. I went ahead and prepared. This is the reduction of it.
Oh wow!
So you can see after a while, it's become its own sauce that has the garlic, it has the anchovies, and so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the olives.
And for everybody, we're going to share the recipe online with you. So don't worry about proportions. We'll tell you all about it later.
And then I'm going to add the tuna. And you're just basically mixing in the tuna in, you're not really kind of cooking the tuna at all. It's just the flavors of the tuna straight from the can are amazing. This brand is a very popular brand in Italy called Rio Mare. And we actually, was sent by my mother-in-law in Naples. She would send send us these big packages.
Oh wow!
And this is like tuna from Italy. Like when we started doing the show, I was telling my wife about it, and she was like, "Yeah, but you're not using my tuna." I was like, "Well,
you gotta save that good stuff."
Yeah, but it's really good, like straight from the can, and the different types of tuna makes a difference because we cooked with a different tuna about a week ago. She does this really nice rice salad. It's almost the same. And it came out really dry. So, I mean, there's also tuna in water, as you know, tuna in different types of oils.
Yeah.
And so that's going to affect the tuna as well. So, unfortunately, we're using the tuna in the oil, and meaning it's going to be a little bit more high in calories, but it's going to be much more flavorful than.
But that's good.
But you can substitute it, and you can also do you can use tuna in water if you want to watch your calories, and you can also do this dish vegan style. You just use vegan pasta. You don't add the tuna and the anchovies. It's kind of a version of the puttanesca called marinara. And you don't add any cheese to it. It's just oregano, olives, and the same kind of production. So there's a lot of variations, but again, if you're cooking for Italians, you can't vary too much. You want to respect their kitchen is basically what it is. You want to respect their recipes and go for that.
That is awesome. Hi, Seasick Life. Thanks for joining us. Dancing Boar. I've got spam in my kitchen. Come over anytime.
So I'm taking out the garlic. Here goes the garlic. Garlic's gone.
Yeah.
The little Irish exit is out. And so basically here is your sauce. This is the puttanesca sauce, our version. So you got the sauce, tuna, olives, anchovy. You don't even see the anchovy. It's become part of the whole dish now. So now I have the pasta, which I already pre-made, and that goes straight into there. There we go.
Did you say that the garlic made an Irish exit?
Yeah. It didn't stay around to the end. It didn't say goodbye. It just left without saying goodbye. That's the Irish exit. Hopefully, I'm not offending any Irish people. But
wow, it's coming together there.
What's that?
I said your dish is really coming together there.
Yeah. I pre-cooked the pasta, so it kind of stuck together. So I had to repurpose it in the sauce.
Yeah.
There we go. Al dente, of course. I mean, I rarely cook Italian at home for my wife because it's like I'll overcook the pasta. At home we're cooking, we're drinking wine, and I'm like, oh God, I just forgot about the pasta. So,
oh, that looks great.
So it goes really nice with the colors. And then I got little parsley.
So do you use the conserva to make the squidding pasta, or do you like using the fresh ink for that?
On this one, it's a type of conserva because what it is basically, it's squid ink in a jar.
Ooh, look at that.
And so
that looks so good.
There we go. And then we turn off the heat. Don't want to get burned. All right. And you want to come on over here on this side? All right.
Wow, that's looking so yummy.
And there we go.
And what is so neat about it is that you can buy all of these stuff and have it in your cabinet waiting to make it.
Yeah. Basically, that's pretty much it. You have everything in your cabinet, your olives, nothing goes bad. I mean, that tuna has been up in our cabinet at least for a year. And it's still, I opened up a can the other day. It was really good. But I mean, it's a simple pasta. It takes, 20, 30 minutes max. If you're reducing the tomatoes, if you use tomato conserva, I mean, it's even like less, like in 5 minutes. So,
wow.
And, you can, at home on your own, you can experiment and do all these different stuff to it. But if you ever, if you want to call the dish by its actual name, there's certain rules to follow. So that's, going back to the whole respecting the recipe, the Italian recipe.
Let's see it up close.
There we go.
Oh man. Are you gonna show us what it tastes like?
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. You know what, we talked about sustainability, and you know what, the one thing that we forgot to talk about was that it's also, it's pretty high in nutrients. It's good for you. There's a lot of omega-3s in sardines. They're also the mercury is low in sardines because, as you know, mercury is higher in bigger fish as opposed to smaller fish.
Yeah.
And it's just, there's a lot of great things going on for sardines. So this is for two actually, but whatever.
I don't
I'm
know.
off today. I'll eat.
That looks
two.
like for one. I don't know, David.
Hold on a second.
If only we could figure out a way to transport that into my hands.
Here we go. The spoon for the pasta. Never spoon for the pasta. Never. Use the fork.
Oh, so
That's
jealous.
That's
well,
good.
now that I have your recipe, I'm for sure gonna try making this.
Yeah. Please do.
So
Please
tell
do.
us how we can support you. If someone wants to order, I know that you guys are doing takeout right now, and so people can still order at the location on Geary Street. So tell us more about, like, where do they go? Do they go online? Do they call you? How should they support you?
Yeah, go to bellatrattoriasf.com, and we have you can buy a gift certificate. You can buy gift certificates really help out. We also use the gift certificate donations to deliver to several hospitals. We're going to
awesome.
CPMC. We're going to CPMC tomorrow. Drop off to the nurses over there.
Oh, that's awesome.
We didn't do. I don't want to portray us to be like, oh, we did this huge donation for hospitals, but we did, when possible, go to several hospitals, drop off here and there. We went to the police station. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
But it's all they're all part of the community. They're all part of the community, and so we wanted to give back a little bit. I mean, there's a lot of other restaurants out there that I was just so amazed in their generosity at what they did. But everyone did their part in San Francisco, and they're continuing to do their part. And not to mention, we all got to wear masks. Don't forget to wear your mask.
No kidding. I mean, it's definitely tough, and right now San Francisco is taking a pause in terms of reopening, but hopefully if we can get it under control and everybody does their part to wear masks, then we can do more. And I think
I mean, at the beginning, a lot of things change, right? People's attitudes change, and at the beginning, even including me, we were like, oh, it's just a cold and no big deal, and oh, who needs to wear a mask? And now it's gone to a point where it's like, all right, people have changed. I've seen people go from super sensitive to non-sensitive, and vice versa. Where, like me, I was just like, oh, okay, and you come over, you fast forward to what's going on right now, and you're like, all right, just do the things that we need to do so we can go back to some normalcy, because I mean, this is, you want to protect, you want to protect your employees. They're a big part of this whole experience, and then you also want to protect the customers, and you want to protect those people that are more vulnerable than us. So it's important that we do our part in all this. And so but you visit our website, Bella Trattoria SF, or osteriabella.com. It's the same page, and it has our menus. You can order online. You can come into the restaurant and buy some conserva, or if you need help with wine or conserva, hit me up. I'm always at the restaurant or on social media. You can text me there. But
thank you so much, David, for joining us and for sharing so many great ideas, like from appetizers to what you made, but also this idea about conserva and how we should do everything we can to help make foods more sustainable. But not only that, I mean, especially during this time, I hope anyone who's watching who has the ability to help out or to order from Bella Trattoria, I hope you will. It's one of these neighborhood establishments, and as you can see with David, this is like our guy, and he's been with us for like 20 years. And so we need to make sure that they survive, they continue to thrive in San Francisco, and the way that we do that is by supporting our local businesses. So
Yeah.
I hope everybody continues to wear the mask so that we can
Please.
continue to open up, but then also, let's not forget our local businesses.
Yeah.
David, thank you so much.
Yeah, no, thank you, Carmen. I want to say thank you, Carmen, because I know you did some work on the shared spaces. You were on that board to get us restaurants back open on the outside, for outside seating. So, all your work that you guys have been doing down there at City Hall, thank you. And to Mayor London Breed, because, I know you guys are taking a lot of kind of, criticism. But you guys are in the middle of this pandemic doing all that work. So, us and a lot of restaurateurs, we really are grateful for your work. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Well, hopefully when all of this is past us, we'll be able to bring the mayor and come by to your place. How about that?
Yes, please. I would like to meet her.
Thank you, David.
All right. Thank you.
Stay safe,
Bye, everyone.
everybody.